Well, hello, hello. Today it's going to be everything about gut health. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible, but I think it is very, very important. Also, because I want you to stop depending so much um, from the vet. So, I want you to be able at home to control all these gut issues that most of our pets have. Uh, Depending on the allergies, or you go for a walk and they suddenly eat something they shouldn't and they start having diarrhea, vomiting. And I do not want you to panic. That's number one. And second of all, I want you to become independent from the vet. Why? Because at the vets, especially traditional vets, they still give a lot of anti-inflammatories. They give a lot of antibiotics. They give especially metronidazole, which is very, very harming. They've got a lot of side effects to stop this diarrhea, which I don't want when you actually can provide things at home that are going to help. So this is why I'm creating this little webinar, hopefully not too long. Right. So, first, what are the most common gut diseases that we can see? We don't have to go too much into detail, but it is important that you know what to look out for. So, the first one is one of the most common ones is inflammatory bowel disease, together with gastroenteritis. These two, I think, are the most um, prominent ones, the ones that we find more often in the clinic. Then we've got exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. This is also very common, but not as diagnosed as much, unfortunately. Especially cats are very good at hiding pancreatic problems, pancreatitis, more than API. So it is very important to, cats that stop eating for no apparent reason. It's always good to check the pancreas. Let your vet know, in case that they're not willing to do any tests. Make sure that they do check pancreas, because it is actually a common thing that we see in cats. Leaky gut syndrome. This is particularly happening when we've got allergic problems related to food, and other inflammatory conditions, and also because of the all the medications that we're giving, we can create chronic inflammation. Small intestinal overgrowth, what we call SIBO, is also very common. Colitis, which is inflammation of the colon, and then gastric dilation volvulus, what we call GDV, or bloat, which is an emergency, and and happens more often in large dogs. We don't see that, luckily, that often anymore, but it can still happen, and it is an emergency. 50% of dogs do not survive it, so it's important to know this. So, inflammatory bowel disease (IBD), it is a chronic inflammation of the gut due to an overactive immune response. Yes, there are things we can do to control this. Symptoms mainly are chronic diarrhea or constipation, vomiting. It's mainly bile. It's on and off. Loss of appetite, poor appetite, weight loss. We see this commonly in cats and small breed dogs, like Yorkshire Terriers, are very, very prone to this, and older pets. Again, because I'm a holistic vet, I want to provide you the more holistic way of doing things, and things that you can actually do from home. So, novel protein meaning a protein that you've never used before. So, avoid chicken, avoid lamb. Also, because these two proteins are very warming from the Chinese point of view. And if you already have a gut which is very inflamed, you might need some cooling proteins to lower that inflammation. So, fish, rabbit, duck, things like that. Duck might be a bit greasy, depending if you take the skin out, which you should, because skin of the duck is very greasy. Um, High quality raw. So raw is especially good when we have these very hot patients, very inflamed. Then raw is going to help to cool down the fire, and home cooked diets, obviously. Um, Things that supplements that we can give are probiotics that we should give, of course. Slippery elm is a very good one. Marshmallow root, omega 3 fatty acids, and L-glutamine. which you can't see it here from my face, is in the front. But L-glutamine is actually what feeds the gut cells. Okay, so it is very important. From a Chinese point of view, obviously, this is something that I can diagnose in the practice, which is spleen qi. The spleen is actually what is going to do the absorption of the nutrients from a Chinese point of view. Qi is the energy, so obviously there's going to be a deficiency in the spleen qi, and this is why we're not digesting and transforming and absorbing the foods correctly. So we have to strengthen the spleen, reduce the dampness meaning all this liquid, all this diarrhea, all this inflammation, all this bloating. And then we have to provide warming foods, again depending on the animal. And this might be a bit confusing because warming means soothing the gut lining, but depending if it's too hot or too cold, it will really depend. But soothing, especially for the gut lining, is what we need to do. Gastroenteritis, a chronic. It can be caused by infections like parvovirus, food intolerances, dietary indiscretions, toxins, stress could be related to many, many things, but mostly is because the dogs and cats, especially dogs, tend to eat things in the street that they shouldn't, and then that's why, you know, they become intoxicated or they get infected with things. Most common symptoms, obviously, vomiting, diarrhea, sudden onset, dehydration, obviously, because we're releasing all these fluids out of the body, and abdominal pain. So they're going to stop eating and they're going to be apathic, like not wanting to move a lot and feeling very poorly. It's very common in all breeds, especially those prone to scavenging, like Labradors and Beagles. Labradors, especially, we know that they are literally garbage walking bags. So for these guys, I do say bland diet, but first of all, I would do 24-hour fasting to let the gut rest a bit, and then I would start with a bland diet, especially pumpkin, boiled chicken, or white fish. Like I said, especially when the dog has fever, we want to give cooling foods like white fish or rabbit better than chicken. Rice, which is astringent, meaning it's going to get the water out of the bowel, so it's going to help to restore that bowel consistency. And then something which is very, very good is bone broth. Even I would do 24-hour fasting and start with the bone broth to begin with. It's full of essential amino acids. It's full of obviously good nourishment, good hydration, and it's got L-glutamine, which is again necessary for our gut cells. Um, Supplements, activated charcoal, very good when we have intoxications. Activated charcoal is not going to be absorbed. What it does, it pulls out all these toxins out of the system, so we need that. Probiotics, obviously, because if we have diarrhea, that means there's an imbalance between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, so we want to provide the good bacteria again to fight off the bad guys. Ginger, very, very anti-inflammatory. It's going to soothe as well all the gut lining, all the stomach. Chamomile, same thing, and slippery elm, same thing, also helps with vomiting. With slippery elm, be really careful, start really slow because it can dehydrate if you don't provide it with water. Again, Chinese point of view, we want to clear the heat, meaning when there's an infection, we want to tonify that stomach qi, and then we want to harmonize the entire belly, the digestion, the imbalance that's caused within the system. Yeah, again, Chinese point of view, so it's different than our normal traditional way of doing things. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, EPI, we can have this also as pancreatitis. They're different things, but basically the approach can be very similar, at least from uh, the point of view from being at home. Pancreatitis is actually very painful, although we know that our pets are very resilient, so they're not going to show much. They're going to just maybe show lethargy and loss of appetite, especially our cats. So in this case, EPI is that the pancreas fails to produce enough digestive enzymes. So obviously, we're not going to absorb and digest and absorb the nutrients correctly. We're going to find chronic diarrhea, pale, greasy stools is normally what we find. Weight loss, obviously, because we're not ingesting and absorbing all these nutrients. Good appetite, well, it depends. It can have good appetite or not. Flatulence and rumbling stomach, because again, we are not digesting things correctly. There's going to be more bad bacteria, so that's going to create gas. Very common in German Shepherds, Rough Collies, and some mixed breeds. Again, holistic treatment is highly digestible, low fiber, high protein diets, digestive enzymes, of course, probiotics, and raw pancreas, which is only if tolerated because it can be a bit rough to digest. Yes, so meaning um, organ meats. Again, from a TCM point of view, we want to strengthen the spleen and the stomach chi, the energy of these two organs, and warm the digestion. Leaky gut syndrome, again, this is increased intestinal permeability. I cannot talk. It's basically when the villi in the gut lining, because of chronic inflammation, are going to, either break up, and then there's going to be more space, meaning bigger molecules can go through the gut lining into the bloodstream, and that can cause allergic reactions. And obviously, it's going to allow toxins and bacteria to enter the bloodstream. Symptoms: chronic allergies, itching, ear infections, skin infections, autoimmune diseases as well. Again, an overreactive immune system. GI upset, bloating, and gas are the common symptoms. And we are going to find this more often in pets with long-term use of that have been long-term using antibiotics, steroids, and dry kibble, which is very bad, as we know. Holistic treatments is change the diet, of course, bone broth and novel proteins, especially no chicken, no lamb, no beef. Lamb because it's very hot, so we don't want to increase the heat in the body. Probiotics, why? Because we've been giving antibiotics and steroids for a long time, which is going to also non-steroidal anti-inflammatories used long term are going to actually cause inflammation and cause these digestive problems in our pets. So L-glutamine, colostrum, omega-3 fatty acids, slippery elm, probiotics are few of the supplements that are going to be very beneficial. We want to reduce the dampness, heal gut lining, and tonify the general chi, the general energy of our pets. SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is obviously what the name says. It's there's an overgrowth of bacteria in the gut lining, and that is going to the reason why is more structural or basically a mechanical reason. So more poor motility, or also can be the diet. So the peristalsis, low slow movement of the intestines, can cause these bacteria to overgrow. Symptoms, again, chronic diarrhea, bloating, and flatulence, meaning gas, and obviously malabsorption with consequent weight loss and dull coat, lack of energy, are your common symptoms. Common in German Shepherds and dogs that have the pancreatic problems and IBD, so inflammatory bowel disease. We want low carb, high protein, good quality protein diets, and avoid the ones that are fermented. Why? Because we're going to create more bloating and more bacteria, which we don't want. Bad bacteria, I mean, because we do want probiotics. We want to fight off the bad guys. Oregano oil is also very good. Berberine, very good. And digestive enzymes, because we want to digest what we are eating. Yes. We want to clear the dampness and harmonize digestion from a TCM point of view. Colitis, inflammation of the colon or large intestine. This can be, and I know this because I had for many years colitis. But again, I went into a dietary transformation where I became more vegan, and I cut out a lot of pro-inflammatory foods, and I don't have colitis anymore. So my reason was stress. So stress is a big reason. Infections, parasites, food allergies, and IBD are some of the other reasons that can cause inflammation of the large intestine. Symptoms: we are going to see mucus or colon or blood in the stools. Straining to defecate, so having problems, as in um, constipation. Urgency, so we have the other effect, which is urgency and frequent bowel movements. Yes, so we've got these two problems, um, that we're going to face. So straining, having difficulty, not really constipation, but difficulty to defecate. It's very common in boxers. It's called ichthyositic ulcerative colitis. And then pets that tend to be very stressed, meaning there is a disturbance in the shen from a Chinese point of view. What to do? We want low residue, fiber balanced diet. Psyllium husk is also very good. Pumpkin, boiled pumpkin, and sweet potatoes, very good. We want to lower the stress. Um, Supplements: slippery elm, probiotics, L-glutamine, and chamomile. We want to soothe the liver qi. Liver is going to be the one, when it's disturbed, is going to create a lot of stress in the body. So we want to soothe, we want to calm the liver down, we want to reduce the heat and the dampness. Things we're going to give: CBD oil, rescue remedy, valerian root. I'll talk a bit more later on about this. And this one, which is actually an emergency, mainly in large breed dogs like your Great Danes or your, oh, what's the other one? Terranova, which is the Newfoundlander. So big, very big breeds. Um, and what happens is, when you unfortunately left a big bag of kibble out and the animal was able to eat it ad libitum, meaning no stop. They eat, they eat, they eat, and suddenly, obviously, that creates gas because they're eating fast and there's no space in the stomach. So that's going to blow up. Bacteria are going to create gas, and that's going to make the stomach to twist, and then it's going to, so filled with gas, it's going to twist, and that's going to make all the veins twist as well, meaning they're going to cut the blood supply, and that is an emergency for obvious reasons. Yes, so symptoms are going to be sudden bloating, so very, very big belly, restlessness. They're going to be panting a lot, not willing to move, unproductive retching, and eventually collapse if you don't take them to the vet. They will have pale mucous membranes or very purple. So you have to really make sure that you do take them to the vet immediately. So large, deep-chested breeds like Great Danes, Weimaraners, sometimes, shepherd dogs, um, German shepherds, and Rottweilers as well. We need to feed small meals. It's more a prevention thing, because when it happens, it's an emergency. There's no choice, nothing to do at home, just to bring it quickly to the vet. But how you can avoid it: obviously, avoid leaving big bags of kibble. First, don't give kibble. That's the first thing. But second of all, avoid it, take it away, make sure they do not get a hand of it when you're not there. Give small meals. Do not exercise immediately after eating. Avoid fermentable foods, because obviously that's going to create more gas. And like I said, no heavy exercise after. The same with drinking. Do not let them drink large amounts of water after eating. Yes. Supplements are digestive enzymes, probiotics, ginger, which helps with the bloating or against it. So, what to do from home to prevent all these gut issues that you can find? Well, diet must be nourishing and healing for the gut. Bone broth is extremely beneficial. soothes inflammation, provides collagen for gut repair, L-glutamine, essential amino acids, 2 to 4 tablespoons per meal. I would even do more. There's no problem. It's only, it's concentrated nourishment for the pet. So give as much as you want. Pumpkin or sweet potato or and sweet potato helps with both diarrhea and constipation. Very, very soothing. 1 teaspoon per kilogram of body weight. You can give a bit more. I would do 2 to 3 tablespoons more than teaspoons. Um, is your pet hot or cold from a Chinese point of view? Feed accordingly with the energetics. This is in my course, the energetics of the animal. This is important because it's going to either make things better or make things worse, depending if you are feeding a hot animal or a cold animal. Lightly cooked, easy to digest proteins: chicken, white fish, rabbit, grass fed beef. Again, obviously, if your animal is allergic to chicken and beef, do not provide them. Do not give lamb. It's very, very heavy meat to give and very warming. Avoid kibble at all costs. You know I'm against kibble 100%. It's got nothing nutritious in there. So try to switch to a home cooked diet or a raw. If you don't want to make it yourself, there are many brands out there that are making your cooked but not ultra processed foods. They come in rolls. Freeze dried as well is also going to be beneficial. But the best would be home cooked, of course. And then small, frequent meals to prevent gut bloating. Probiotics and gut supplements, give daily 5 to 10 billion at least for small pets, and then 20 to 50 billion for large dogs. Yes. Slippery elm bark for soothing gut lining. Again, be careful with this one. You can dehydrate if you don't give it with water. So 1/4 of a teaspoon per 10 kilos in warm water before the meals, or you can put it in the meals as well. L-glutamine, which I said already, is it's for leaky gut and inflammation. It actually is food for the cells in the gut lining. 500 milligrams per 10 kilos body weight. Digestive enzymes for poor digestion, so SIBO, EPI, half teaspoon per meal. Open and mix in food. Also, depending on what you buy, you can buy them in capsules, and there will be the amount to give. Yeah. Western herbs that you can easily find in the supermarket are or online. Chamomile calms the gut. Same thing with humans. And antispasmodic. So brew some tea, mix 1 to 2 teaspoons into the food. You can add more. There's no problem. Obviously, make sure that it is cooled down. Do not give it warm because obviously you're going to burn their tongue. Marshmallow root coats and protects the gut lining. It's 1/4 of a teaspoon per 10 kilograms in water. You can find this online. Make sure it's for pets. Ginger, fresh ginger, best. Ginger for nausea and digestion is anti-inflammatory as well. A small pinch of fresh grated ginger into the food. If they don't like it, you can, hide it into a mash. Make a mash with pumpkin. Put some turmeric in there as well. I didn't put it in there, but turmeric is also very, very anti-inflammatory and it's going to help. Oregano oil for the SIBO and gut infections. 1 drop. Do it together with 1 teaspoon of coconut oil. Do not give too much coconut oil if your dog has diarrhea, because obviously fat is not going to be digested well. Um, so make sure that you don't give too much of that, and that give that once daily. Um, Chinese medicine, obviously, this is one to do when you're at the vets, because this is just for information, but that you know that there are Chinese herbs that actually work very efficiently. So after trying all the things that I've mentioned here, if you're not able to control the diarrhea or the vomiting, then go to holistic vet. There are marvelous Chinese herbs that do wonders. Yes, without the need of traditional medicines. So for chronic gut weakness, spleen qi deficiency, ginseng, conodopsis, astragalus, these are qi tonifying herbs. For heat and inflammation, so IBD, colitis, and gastritis, Scutellaria huangqing, Coptis huanglian. And then for diarrhea and loose stools, we've got Poria, Fuling, Atractylodes, and Baizu. Yes, these are really, really good, but obviously, like I mentioned here in red, herb formula should be tailored by a vet knowledgeable in Chinese medicine. Hello. And doses range from 250 to 500 milligrams per 10 kilograms body weight. But again, this is just for information because it's best to be given at the vet's holistic vet, Chinese medicine certified vet, because there's a lot of Chinese herbs. They have, if you are not careful, they are very powerful, so you have to know what you're doing. Of course, hydration and stress management, these can also be reasons for having gut issues. We know this with humans as well. Encourage drinking, add warm water, broth to meals. You know, you can add just the broth, bone broth, and that's very tasty. So animals will drink that and then they get hydrated that way. Reduce stress, anxiety obviously is going to worsen gut issues. CBD oil, 1 milligram per 10 per kilogram. We have percentages from 2 to 5%, 10%, 20%. Start with the lower one, so 5% for small dogs and then 10% for bigger dogs. Between 0.2 to 0.5 mgs per kg is the lower dose, and then you can increase, but you're pretty safe giving 1 milligram per kilogram if you do the lower percentage. Yeah. Valerian root is also very good. Melissa, rescue remedy are very helpful to manage stress in pets. Massage helps a lot. Petting, so being in contact. The same with humans. A good hug, petting, massaging is going to release these good endorphins, and that's going to make them relax. No sudden food changes because that's going to stress the gut as well. So always transition slowly in about a week, especially if they are eating dry kibble. When to see a vet, in emergency situations, you're not able to control the diarrhea or the vomiting, then signs that you have to look out for, obviously, bloody vomit or stools, severe dehydration, extreme bloating. That's the GBD, so you got to really be careful with that. GDV, sorry. Weight loss despite eating well, because we can be dealing with more serious problems. Other things like lethargy, of course, loss of appetite for many days, diarrhea and vomiting for many days that you're not able to control. All these reasons are enough for you to visit the vet. The doses, obviously, bone broth, give as much as you want. I'm not really bothered about the doses I've sent here. Pumpkin, sweet potato, 1 to 2 teaspoons a day, depending on the size of your pet. Again, these are average, these are just to give you some information, but if you give a bit more, I'm not really fussed. You're absolutely safe to give those. Probiotics, small animals, 5 to 10 billion a day. Yes, they come into capsules. I let you here to read all this, but normally if you buy the pet capsules, they will give you the amount to give. Normally it's like 1 capsule a day, depending on how much. But take variety, so take different varieties of probiotics. Fermented foods are going to help a lot. Also, variety of different strains: Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Enterococcus. You need different ones. Slippery elm powder, give a fourth teaspoon, mixed with warm water. I said this before. Depending on the size of the animal, small and medium and large, here you have the amounts. L-glutamine, small 250, medium 500, large 1,000 milligrams a day. Digestive enzymes, half a capsule for small ones, medium one capsule, large 1 to 2 capsules. Um, but yeah, here you have, so this is a video you can go back and forward, yeah, to check these out.